Welcome to Yoga Teacher Journeys, your podcast for all things yoga and mindful living. I'm Claire.
And I'm Bianca, and we're two yoga teachers sharing the insights and wisdom we've picked up along our journey so far.
Whether you're thinking about teacher training or exploring yoga as a way of life, join us weekly for inspiring conversations.
Let's go on this journey together.
Hello, and welcome back, everybody.
Hi, welcome
I feel
back.
like it's been a long time.
It has been a little while, but we've been adjusting.
Yeah, so this will be the first podcast we've recorded since I've been back in the UK, am I right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so last time you saw us, we were reporting, I was reporting from India. Yeah, it's all changed. So I've been back in the UK. I've been back 3 weeks now.
Really, already? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's gone so fast. It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, 3 weeks back in the UK, just adjusting to normal life again. Normal, whatever, just life in the UK. Yeah. So
Wow.
crazy.
And so this is episode 18.
Oh, yes.
And I know how crazy.
Go us, by the way. I'm proud of us for being consistent,
Right? Yes. Always consistent-ish. It's like,
But I mean, it is.
I saw
something. Yeah, I saw something the other day. Instead of aiming for consistent, aim for persistent. We do keep picking it back up again. Lives, right? Just keep showing up.
Absolutely. And we are showing up. And so I think today we wanted to talk a bit about your ashram experience, because that was such a special time for you in India. And it came towards the end of your trip. So I think it would be great to start perhaps with what is an ashram for those who might not know what it is.
Yeah, so the ashram that I went to in India was in the south, in a place called Kerala, or literally just on the edge of Kerala. And the ashram was the Sivananda ashram. So that's the name of the lineage of yoga, the philosophy that ashram followed. So this ashram was all about spiritual growth, basically. So people go to the ashram to connect to themselves and connect and deepen their spiritual practice, basically. So this was a place that you go to that once you're in there, you don't leave. You very much are living and breathing ashram life for as long as you want to be in there. It's an experience. You are living like the yogis do, and you have to go all in, Yeah. So I was there for 5 days, 5 nights. Yeah, it ended up being 5 days. Yeah. And it was a wild ride, I have to say. There was a lot, and I'm so excited now that I've had a bit of space and time to process it, to be able to talk about it a bit more, because from the ashram we went straight to Delhi.
Wow.
Right, so we went from the kind of stillness and the quietness of the ashram life to the Delhi, and there was this complete switch up of energy. And then from there we were doing a lot of traveling around, so I don't think I really had time to really just like, what did I take away from this time that I had in the ashram? Because it was a lot. It was quite transformative, I would say.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. And so could you tell us a bit more about the daily schedule? So what was that like?
Wow, the daily schedule. When we did our yoga teacher training, that schedule was stacked out. This was another level.
Really? I can't imagine.
Yeah. And so it's very much the way I would describe it, it sounds like a bit of a contradiction. There was so much space, but also there was so much structure in that space. So I'll give you a day in the life, shall I?
Yeah.
So my friend and I, we went to the ashram together. So luckily we had, well, not luckily, it would be a different experience if you were in the dorm, I can imagine, because they have many dorm rooms. We actually had a private room, the two of us, with our own bathroom. So, I mean, yeah, it was that type of experience for us. So we had our little room and everything. We arrived one evening. They give you your bedding, they give you a yoga mat, and they give you this like metal tray for your dinners. And you have that, you take it to your room and you keep it for the duration of your trip. And it's your job basically to look after all of these things, making sure you're washing up, making sure that everything comes back as you received it when you started at the ashram. So the first morning, the bell went off at 5:30. Was it 5? I've got the schedule here. Yeah, so the bell goes off, and it was right outside our room at 5:20. It goes off first. They start ringing this bell, 5:20, and then it goes off again at 5:30. And what this is doing is basically waking everybody up, ready to go to the main hall for a meditation at 6 a.m. basically. So everyone's awake. You can't really sleep through that bell. I even had earplugs in, like, because I sleep with earplugs. It was loud, and it's dark at that time, of course. And I remember our first morning we woke up, you're a bit like, "Oh, what's going on here? You know, this feels like a crazy time to be awake." So you have to bring, what do you need when you go there? You literally just bring yourself, no talking or anything before this. So me and Sophie tried not to talk between waking up and getting to the meditation, because you want to be distraction free. No phones either, none of that. So
You don't want to awaken the mind. Yeah.
No. So it's kind of like literally wake up and you're going straight to meditate. Okay. And obviously at this time it's dark. So everyone comes into the hall and you're all sat on the floor, right? And again, if you haven't practiced sitting on the floor for half an hour, it can feel quite a lot for your body, you know? So some people had like meditation cushions and things like that. But basically you're in this huge hall. Like I don't know, I reckon there's about 250 people there.
No way.
Right? Yeah, it was huge,
Wow.
because there's people doing TTC, there's people doing just the ashram experience, and then there's other people doing like the panchakarma, the treatments and things, because there's a hospital on site as well. So we do a half an hour meditation and you're just sitting in the dark, right? And they give you a little brief like overview of find your focus point, like your focal point. It might be in your heart, it might be between the eyebrows, and just practice concentration of your mind, keep bringing it back to that point. And that's it. Minimal guidelines, because meditation, there was really not much, they didn't give much away, because meditation is something you have to experience. It's not something I can tell you really how to do. You know, it's one of them, you sit down and they tell you to try and focus your attention into a place, and then eventually you find this place of stillness. But I mean, it's a practice.
I suppose there are obviously different techniques of meditation, right? You can
of
focus on
course.
a mantra, you can focus on your breath, you can visualize. What did you use mostly? What's your go-to?
For the focus? So I usually start with focusing on my breath. And I now find that when I kind of sit, my awareness comes to my heart. So I try and keep the focus on my heart space, you know, and if it wanders, I just try and bring it back. If it wanders, I bring it back. So that's what I was trying to do. They did say that we could use a mantra. If we wanted to use Om, we can use Om. Like, you can find a way that works for you, but it was minimal kind of talk before you get into your meditation. So I remember the first morning we just sat there and it was like, okay, shut your eyes and just be there. Then after half an hour, we go into satsang, which is like kirtan. There's a lot of chanting. There's like hymn books and everything. And I remember the first day, the first chant that we do is about 25 minutes long, right? And we do that one every morning and every night. And people were getting instruments involved. And it was like, you can really feel the energy building. And what happens is then that really gets stuck into your subconscious mind, because I was singing that chant for weeks afterwards, right? And it's in your head, and you're connecting with the energies and the qualities of the deities, the gods, whatever you want to call them, that they worship. So we did that. We also, what did we do after that? There's a bit of then education. They might read a page out of a book, and then we discuss that. From there, we had a cup of tea. Like, okay, so this maybe is 7:30 now. We've had a cup of tea. And then we go in for our first yoga class, Asana. So first Asana practice. And that is 2 hours long.
Wow.
Yeah. So imagine then, I mean, the classes we were doing at One Yoga, they were maybe more an hour and a half.
It was 2 hours though in the morning, but I guess we
had meditation in with that.
I think it was in addition.
Oh, was it 2 hours?
I think we had 30 minutes meditation and then 2 hours with Santosh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. That is quite intense. But I think here the difference is that you've got the chanting on top of that. And the chanting, how long did the chanting last?
So we were in the meditation hall from 6 till 7:30.
Oh, wow.
So you've got an hour and a half, and that's meditation and the chanting and the educational piece. and they give you any kind of notifications or anything that they need to let you know. You then have a cup of tea and you've got half an hour then before your yoga practice. Okay, so then we would go in for yoga practice, and they'd have a beginner's class, and they also had an intermediate class. So you could pick, which one you wanted to go to. And the thing with the Sivananda ashram, it's a hatha style of yoga, so it's very slow. There's a lot of rest and relaxation. The sequence is there's basically like 4 asana that we practice. So the sequence is the same every day.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So, and again, I've never practiced in that way before. I'd never done this style of yoga before. So it was quite nice to experience something different. But 2 hours, it feels like a long time. And in that 2 hours, we start with pranayama. There's usually like half an hour of pranayama.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do alternate nostril breathing, Bhastrika. I think they were the 2 breath works. And then we went into sun salutations and then the asana. And then there was a lot of relaxation at the end of that. So 2 hours. Yeah.
Amazing.
So right, so that's 8 till 10.
Did you go to the beginner or intermediate class?
I mixed it up actually. Yeah. What I recognized was that my body was quite tired by the time that I got to the ashram, actually. I think because when I was in Goa, I was practicing a lot of Ashtanga, and that's full power. And I think I'd had a lot going on. There was my mind, my body, and everything was I felt quite tense at the time. So I was like, I don't want to put too much pressure on. I mean, in either class that you went to, if anything didn't feel okay, there's no pressure to do the asana. You could just lay on the mat. So I mixed it up depending on like energy levels and where I felt like I was at. And also there were different teachers, and it was nice to learn from different teachers as well. So by the end of that, so that's from 8 till 10 o'clock, you haven't eaten anything yet. And I remember just being like, I'm actually quite hungry. And then from 10 o'clock, you go and have your breakfast or brunch. And that's always vegetarian, and you're eating your meal sitting on the floor, which again, the first time was a bit like, oh my goodness. The food was delicious for most part. Yeah, it was really nice, home cooked, vegetarian. It was all sattvic food. So you do have a bit of a caffeine sugar withdrawal thing going on the first couple of days. But after that, you feel great with what you're eating. So yeah, then you'd have breakfast. After that, right, next up was karma yoga. So this is a big part. So this ashram it's all voluntary run. So for the ashram to actually work, they need the people that go to the ashram to help out in the community around the site. So my friend and I, we were on bin duty. Yeah, and some people were serving the food. So there was many different jobs that you could do as part of your karma yoga. Some people were serving up the food, some people were cleaning floors, all sorts of different things, all the jobs that needed to be done to allow the ashram to work. So we went for the bins. And
Did you
yeah,
get
that
to
was
choose?
it was kind of like, right, we need help with this and this. And we were like, yeah, let's go for bins. I mean, someone's got to do it. And it's very much like you're all equal there. There's no hierarchy or anything like that. We're all helping each other out, So the karma yoga is actually a really important part of the experience in the ashram. I did notice there were a few people there that were like, oh no, I don't want to do the karma yoga. And they do say if you're only there for 3 days, sometimes they don't give you any. But because we were there for 5, we did get involved. And your ego is probably going to be telling you, I don't want to do the bins. But it was a really great experience to actually put yourself into a position. I've never really emptied bins that big before. This is a huge ashram, and we are emptying all this food waste into like compost heaps, and then we have to clean the bins out, and you can imagine it's going everywhere.
Oh gosh.
You should have seen me. I had these big gloves on, and it's hot and sticky and smelly, and it's
Must have been very heavy as well.
It was heavy. Yeah, really heavy. And we had
your
to
weight training in a bit in between.
And your steps, you'll be surprised because we're in the ashram the whole time, but my step count was actually quite high because you're walking here, there, and everywhere, especially with doing the bins as well. You have to go from one end of the ashram to the other. It's a huge place.
How long was the karma yoga part every day?
I think it was like half an hour to an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, depending. And then some days the bins were heavier than others. So like on a Saturday, I think Saturday, because they have a Friday off, There's no karma yoga on a Friday. The ashram has a day off on a Friday. By the Saturday, there's big bins. Yeah. So if
Imagine.
you get bin duty on a Saturday, it's kind of like, yeah, you can notice it, you know?
I
So we
mean,
have, yeah.
it's bins for like 200 people on the day,
Yeah, it's a
like
lot. It's a lot.
400 people. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. So, and that was an experience. And again, your
Yeah,
mind is trying to tell you that it's good, it's bad, but it just was.
it
And it
is.
was that, it just is. It is. So after you've done your karma yoga, then there's lots of different options during the daytime as to what you want to do. So there's meditation and chanting coaching classes that you can go to at 12 o'clock at midday. Anyone's welcome. Those are optional. You don't have to go to those. We did go to one meditation class, but it was so hot at that time in the day. It was quite difficult to stay engaged, especially on the days where the caffeine withdrawals were hitting hard. So I think one of the days we did nap in that time. Because if you got to think, we've been up since 5:20 and it's now midday and we've done all of this. It's a
Absolutely.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, you then have an asana coaching class. So if there's any particular asana that you want help with at 12:30, you are allowed to go to the main hall and the teachers are there and you can go through the asana with them if you wish. So that was really nice because obviously when you're in the class, there's so many people in these yoga classes or in the asana classes that there isn't necessarily time for you to break down each posture properly. So that was a really nice space to have that as an
Was there one in
opportunity.
particular that you went for and got some help with?
So the coaching classes, I didn't go to any of the asana coaching classes. I went to more the philosophy coaching classes. And again, it was just more of a where do I place my energy? This is a lot. There was a lot, a lot, a lot. After asana coaching class, you then had another cup of tea. And sometimes they give you some fruit. Like you might get a little bit of fruit.
That's
So
nice.
that was always nice. Yeah, that's nice. And then 2 o'clock, there was a lecture. And every day there would be like a different topic of yoga. Yeah. So one day you'd be talking about breathing, the next day, relaxation, asana, nutrition,
Wow.
that every day there was a different topic and how that there's like 5 points of yoga, they say. So we went through the 5 points of yoga. So that was very interesting. And it was nice to be involved in those lessons because things are landing now. Obviously, we did our teaching training a year ago. And I remember being in the philosophy lessons and just being like, what on earth? But now things are landing differently. I'm hearing more and I'm like, oh yeah, it's starting to make sense, which is nice.
Yeah. And so, any highlights from those philosophy classes, then anything that stuck in your mind that was shared with you?
Ooh. In the philosophy classes, I mean, there were so many things. I've written it all down in my notebook, and it's just I want to go through all of those notes again and just like there were some really powerful one-liners in there. If I try and remember them now, I'm definitely going to ruin them. So what I'll do after we've recorded this, I'll find them and we can put them in the show notes. The bits that were like, I need to read this again. Anything that stood out. I really liked the class on nutrition actually, because one thing that I did take away from this, so the asana practice of yoga, so like the actual physical postures, if you think about yoga being a healing practice, the asana practice is working from the bottom up. We're trying to move the energy up the body. We're trying to get things to flow. When we're looking at nutrition, so Ayurveda, I think that's how you say it. I always don't pronounce it well, is like the sister science to yoga. And that is then working from top down. That's what are you putting in and then what are you bringing? So those two things need to meet. If you're just doing the asana practice and, maybe you're doing bits off of the mat and think the breathing, the this, the that, but you're not fueling your body properly, you're not going to be getting the full benefits. So for me, it was like putting those two things together because nutrition makes a big difference, right? And they try to say, if you think about the food that you're eating, it's like fuel in the car, right? If you're not putting the fuel in the car, it's going to impact the asana practice. And if you can't do the asana practice, it's going to affect your spiritual growth. A lot of people there were vegan or vegetarian. We had a bit of a discussion around food choices, and there was no judgment or anything like that. It was just very interesting. And I think relationship with food has been quite a big part of my journey. We're all on this journey to figuring out and finding a balance, aren't we? So to be in that space where you can see that people have gone through this cycle, then they've maybe taken it too far and they're trying to come back to the middle, and it's like everyone's on a different journey with it all, and like making space for it all, I think, is really important. There's no one way. So yeah, that was interesting. Hang on, where are we in the schedule? Right, we've had lunch, we've had a lecture, we then have another yoga class.
Wow.
Right, another 2 hours of
Yeah.
yoga, right?
Amazing.
So 3:30, 4:30 till 5:30 this is, and then you have dinner.
Okay.
So straight from asana practice, you then go back and you have another meal. So 2 meals a day. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I usually have 3. And I don't know if that's just because we're taught to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but 2 meals a day was very much enough. And I think with the foods, obviously, that you're eating there, there's less like cravings because you're more balanced. Your blood sugars aren't all over the place because everything that you're eating is so fresh and whole. So it was interesting. So you have your second meal of the day. After that, we'd go and watch the sunset. That was really beautiful. And then we'd have another half an hour meditation and satsang, some more chanting and stuff in the evenings, and then lights off at 10:30.
Amazing.
Well,
And
even just like looking at that, I'm just like, wow, it was a lot. It was very intense, but also, like I said, there was so much space in that.
for sure. And how did you sleep? Were you able to sleep well and fall asleep?
Yeah, so the first couple of days we were napping during the day because, yeah, I was just exhausted from all the early starts and things like that. By the end of it, you're tired by the end of the day. You are really tired. By the end of day 5, I was sleeping really well. I was feeling great. I was feeling good. I was sleeping well. I had energy throughout the like I felt energized then throughout the day. I didn't need to nap by the end of it.
Amazing.
That was nice.
Oh, I love that. And so would you do it again?
Absolutely. I'd want to go for a month, I think, next time.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd love to go for longer. I would quite like to go on my own, see how that goes.
How was it to actually share that with your friend?
Yeah, again, it's an experience. And I would say, I guess if you're doing it, if you're turning up and you're going on your own, there's a lot more time in solitude then, right? So I had no social media or anything for the time that I was in there, that was really nice. And I did try to spend a lot less time on my phone. But obviously, yeah, when there's another energy there, it's a different experience. Yeah, it was really nice to do it together because it's like that experience that now we can talk about the experience that we shared and the memories that we made. And again, if you did it on your own, it would just be different.
Absolutely. Were you interacting with the other people there that much?
A little, yeah, but everyone is quite, I mean, you can get involved as much as you want. Some people would just sit out to the side and not really engage so much. And then you'd have other people that you could, how they'd been there for a long time. So there was kind of like, they had a little group of friends. So some people had been there for a month already.
Wow.
Yeah, some people, they come every year for 2 weeks or something. You get a lot of that.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Mm.
That puts a whole new perspective on holidays.
Does And this is the thing, right? So we met a lady before we went to the ashram. We met a lady and she said every time she comes to India, she starts her trip at the ashram and she finishes her trip at the ashram.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And it was structured, but what I would say is, they say it's good to go to all of the classes if you can to get the full experience. But also it's quite soft. Like if you don't go, no one's gonna tell you off or anything. But I think when you're going for something like this, it's good to get stuck in.
Definitely. If you
Yeah,
can, might as well.
I did as much as I could. And there was a moment where I just remember Sophie and I were like, I don't think many people that we know back home would be able to do this because like focusing for 2 hours when we're all so used to just being on our phones, and it's difficult because there's so much external stimulus. We live in this modern world. And that's one thing I would say. So the biggest kind of lesson is we're not living like yogis day to day. Now I'm out of the ashram. I've got to adjust and take the lessons from the ashram into this modern life that I'm living in, because I'm not just living in a jungle. There are stresses. I do need to make money, all of this kind of more humanness. But it's beautiful to have that experience and be able to take parts of that to help me in my life that I have now here.
Absolutely. And I think it's also about, we've talked about this before, it's meeting people where they're at. And so if we want to compare perhaps the ashram to something a bit more accessible to people here, perhaps it might be a retreat. And so thinking about the differences between the ashram and the retreat, and let's talk a bit more about our retreat. What would you maybe take from the ashram into the retreat, and sort of to balance it out in a way that we're meeting people where they are?
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, every retreat that you go to would maybe have a different intention and different purpose. I really want our retreat to be a space for people to be able to come back to themselves. But I think the ashram, if I'm being totally honest, it can be quite overwhelming when you're looking at that schedule. Very overwhelming. Like you say, it's meeting people where they're at. I wouldn't have gone to an ashram 3 years ago. So I feel like a retreat is definitely more accessible, and we want you to have a good time and experience.
It is an experience. And so we want to create that space for you to try and detach a little bit from the day-to-day, from your phone, to retreat, right? That's the word. And then within that space, try and return to yourself. And we won't be asking you to meditate for 30 minutes and do 2 hours of yoga, but we will be challenging you in the sense that we might introduce ideas that might feel a bit confronting. Like, for example, having a silent breakfast.
And it's powerful.
And it's powerful. And the only reason why we're suggesting them is because we've experienced them ourselves, and it's inspired us to pursue more of the yogic philosophy and go to an ashram. So
and really, when you remove all of these distractions, you realize that everything is right here. It's just so often we're looking out there for things to make us feel a certain way, but really our experience of life is all about our state of mind. And yoga is yoga, not just the physical practice of yoga, all the principles of yoga is all about managing the mind. Okay, so when you come on a yoga retreat, there's going to be some relaxation, there's going to be some nice meals, but you are coming really to learn and experience, so that you can see that you can do these things in your normal life as well. And it can help you, it's not just going to be that one weekend that you have with us. This experience that you have, we hope, on our retreat is going to be something that might open up some new energies and an awareness, or create little rituals in your day just to bring you back to that peace that you hopefully will feel when you're in this space.
I think exactly that. We're here to guide you, and hopefully for you to take something away with you that is meaningful, that you can bring into your daily life, and that can perhaps ease maybe a little bit of the stress in your life. Perhaps it's helping you sleep a little bit better. Maybe it's a new perspective on your relationship with yourself, with food, with people around you, with expectations, with the ego. There's so many things, but I'm sure everyone will take something away that's a little bit different and unique to them. But as long as you come with an open mind and you're open to facing yourself a little bit and taking that time to retreat and slow down, then I think you're in the right place.
Yeah, and I think what I love about yoga is it's a very embodied experience, isn't it? Like safely coming back to your body. Whereas quite a lot of the other things, I was doing some reflecting the other day. Quite a lot of the other behaviors and things that I do are to get me away from myself. And that was something that I learned when I was in the ashram. I'm busy, I go for a run, I do this, I'm doing this. But how many of those things are just distracting me from me? Quite a lot of the time you are just distracting. So the ashram, there was a lot of space, and that space meant that you have to confront and turn inwards. And when you do that, your energy is here and you realize you don't need anything else. It's that journey, and it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's making me think I need to get more of my meditation in. I'm going to put it out there so that I actually do it. I'm going to start a meditation series So
Yes.
I would love perhaps the month of May, this is ambitious, but I'm putting it out there, to do a 1 month meditation challenge. And so
Okay.
it would be 5 minutes every day, meeting people
Yeah.
where they're at. And so I'd like to record a YouTube video, so a guided meditation for every day of the week. So there would be 7 videos, and then you would repeat them every week
For 4 weeks.
for 4 weeks. And so I want to film them in amazing places here. So there's so many beautiful nature spots, and I've got ideas of where I want them to be. So I just need to get out there and get them filmed. And yeah, I'm really excited to share that with people, because a lot of people have asked me actually for some meditation recording, the use of my voice and things like that, because people do find it quite soothing. So I want to get it out there.
Yeah, also, well, we can hold you accountable to that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so I will definitely do another ashram experience for sure. 100% up for that again. I loved it. It was challenging, but the whole experience in general was a great experience to have. I'm sure there's going to be more that comes to me as I continue. You know, when it, like little bits drop in and I'm like, oh, remember that?
Exactly. No, thank you so much for sharing today. And yeah, so for the retreat, we still have 3 spots left in the triple rooms. Let us know if you're keen, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye.